And we'd like to get started. This week, we've been talking, well, I've been talking with Guido back and forth. We had a session earlier, and there was a session in Don Beck's group about analyzing a call and then using a limited number of calls to create some choreography. Guido has a slightly different approach to call analysis than is the standard call analysis call sheet, as well as using that call analysis, expressing it out and expanding it out into the development of choreography with a limited number of calls. Guido hails, of course, from Germany. He is one of the guys who has been paramount in ensuring that the information that comes from ECTA and European callers actually gets into the fore of Caller Lab and to North America and around the world, and also that information coming out from Caller Lab gets around to all the European callers. Guido is like me, he doesn't sleep. We haven't found a job number for the requirement of sleep. And when he's not working, he's spending all of his time thinking about choreography and various other aspects of square dancing. So please welcome Guido Haas.
Hi.
Hi, Guido.
For me, it's good morning, a very early good morning. For somebody else, it's good evening. We're talking about call analysis. We didn't talk before. Mel, do I have the
You're able to share it, yes.
Okay. Yes, it's working.
Yep.
I hate that. Bildschirmpräsentation. Okay. Somehow my keyboard doesn't want what I want. Well, call analysis is something that never stops. No matter how much time you did invest to analyze call XYZ, there will be a situation where you need to revisit the respective analysis and remove or add bits of information, and call analysis opens new windows to calls the more you dedicate time to it. When I use the term call, I really mean a square dance choreography element. It is a call, a formation, a rule, a convention, a concept, or whatever you can think of. In the last year, during all the video classes and training sessions, many presenters hinted to look at your call analysis. Here's a random selection that barely fits on one slide. If I'm presenting Mrs. His or her name, I'm sorry, this list is anything but complete. But several times, your callers have asked something like, in my class, I only have a limited set of calls available. How do I find useful choreography? I will get to this question later. The next couple of minutes, I show important information that helps and enables you to create useful choreography in a teaching environment. Since you will receive this presentation, I will keep this short so we will have more time for the subject. When there's a scope, there's also a caveat. You will find choreography when you analyze that could be too complicated to call, to dance, or is just not beautiful, but possibly helpful to find other useful choreography. Analyze calls that you do not use, but they are helpful for your understanding. Read and analyze calls from advanced and challenge programs. There are some useful calls to create exciting yet easy basic mainstream or plus choreography. Calls like mix, follow through, or bellhop are 3 examples of calls that you can use just by the simple definition made of basic and mainstream calls. But be aware, only use calls that do not require you to teach another call first. What I show you here is not everything that I do. What I show you is carefully selected. But what I do for myself and not for anybody else. Even when I author an article about a call, the article is a result of first me being selfish, and then I show some of my altruistic side. And even that is altruistic on the surface only. When many put published knowledge into good use, dancers break down, experiences become less severe and humiliating, and appear less often. That means more dancers can dance your choreography, even if it is a little spicier. Bear in mind, when I started to call, this would have been overwhelming for me. I probably would have told the prophet to get lost. So I'm not on a mission to convince you to copy what I am doing. I only want you to raise your level of attention to that there is more, and show you where and how you find and acquire additional and useful information. Call analysis is something you do for yourself. It will not be graded. Nobody will check the level of completeness. If your initial and empty form has more haters than you need, just delete them or ignore them. But keep them somewhere as a reference. You might need them later. A side note, I will share my analysis form simplified in a Microsoft Word version, which is not my program of choice for several reasons, but I don't talk about that. Remember, call analysis is a necessity. If you need to analyze, do just what you need to do in the moment. Everything else might be wasting time at the time being, but also write down insights if you learn about it, for later use. If you read something or gain knowledge through conversation or dancing, keeping notes might save a lot of time. Having said that, please also play with calls without a goal. Sometimes, or very often, you are in a situation where you may consult or where you must consult a definition. Then you find valuable insights for future choreography. Put that in your analysis document. And as a coincidence, just last Tuesday at a regional callers Zoom meeting, we were playing a choreography game, and during one sequence there was a wrong way promenade with half the shade couples. After some commotion, like you can do it, that's illegal, it's not defined, or whatever, we consulted the current definition and found that there is no restriction for a promenade. One just might need to tell the dancers what to do and where the promenade ends. We discussed promenade for about 15 minutes and agreed that this has opened a new window. And the audience in this meeting had a calling span from 2 years or 3 years to over 30 years. And so this is not something that is new for when you meet with other callers. There are a lot of times where you must consult the definition because you really don't know it. Once upon a time, it started with caller labs analyzing a call. Bill Peters played a major role here. An empty form is available at the Call Lab knowledge base. Some others have published their forms to be put on the site also. Look at them, use what seems to be useful to you at the current time. And if you need a hater, go for it. It's your work that you do for yourself and often for your dancers' benefits. As you see there, other callers meanwhile also expanded the call analysis sheet. Some of these expansions I do not cover, and I have yet to look into these. I found them preparing this talk. My expansions were created because the basic sheet did not cater to my needs. Over the years, it grew to a repository to contain all information about the specific call. As an example, I have historical information for about 5 or 6 or 7 pages, I just don't know in the moment, just for Box to Net. Where it comes from, that it originally was spelled net, N-A-T-T-E. And at the time when this call was recorded, somebody only related to the word net, G-N-A-T. And so it got this spelling. What do I do differently than others? Well, I'll look at the distinct and not so distinct parts of a call. For many calls, historical information is available. If I find something, I include that information, but I'm not on the hunt. Often I learn about different ways to use the call. There is no need to strive for completeness. That is probably impossible for most of the calls. Sometimes I get an information about a call that I do not use, but I find useful to keep. It might grant me access to old choreography, like Hook the Sides or Heads. In Ed Gilmore's It's a Long Way to Tipperary. Sometimes I get an information about a call that I can use, but it's not part of my dance programs. Examples are Follow Through and Anybody Hop. This information may be a definition, a teaching hint, a call combination, or just some historical information. Today's computers are patient, neither groan nor object, and have usually enough storage capacity available. I've learned that I was not able to refine sources, and some information became more or less useless without context. So meanwhile, I keep notes of the sources. Computer-based files assist you with all the work, and sometimes index cards still prove to be useful. I personally am interested in important historical facts. I'm interested in who wrote the call, when and why. It sometimes helps to teach me a call. It is told that Jack and Thelma Murphy were a bit short of domestic bliss after her wig slipped during a dive-through. She then commanded him to invent something to prevent such a catastrophe in the future. The result is, of course, Pass to the Center. Dancers can relate and remember both calls and their connection when they're told that story. Examples for restrictions are Courtesy Turn, Pass the Ocean, Recycle. There are others in later programs. Other programs do not redefine a call when a restriction is lifted. The plus definition show no reference to e.g. Courtesy Turn or Pass the Ocean. You must keep track of stuff like that. Applications for the ocean wave rules are listed in the general part of the basic, mainstream, and advanced definitions. The plus definitions don't. The facing couples rule only contains those calls where it is not applicable. Are these rules valid for the call that you're currently analyzing? I'll look at some other things. These are valid, important, but don't play a role in today's theme. General choreography using a call I maintain outside of these documents. Word processors aren't really useful here. So I don't, in the call analysis, I don't write choreography anymore, just a couple of snippets like get outs or equivalents, but I don't put modules in there. I don't put singing calls in there because they often go to different themes also, and you will never find them. There's further readings. These are available online. There are many, many more. And now let's go and create some choreography. This is the PowerPoint part of the presentation. That is close now. And I have it open. Okay. I said that I said this is aimed at the new caller. I have here the basic list, the basic one list in the call lab teaching order, a little enhanced by me, because as I said, I do some things differently. But what I've marked, the calls in black were the calls that were taught at the open house. And now we have our first class evening, our first teaching session. We already did the warm-up, and now we need to develop choreography. These are the calls that we have available. What I do now is something really simple. And I don't know if you can see. When I'm away from home and I have time to, and I have some spare time that I must just, that's just floating by, and I don't have anything to do, I'll go into my bag, into my briefcase, and pull out a teaching order file. And then I use markers, just regular highlighters. And I highlight calls in a certain way. I use yellow, as you see here, as the theme call. This will be the new call after the open house to be taught in a class. And now we need to find out which calls can we call before pass-through, and which calls could we call after pass-through. And in the first go, I just look at the technical aspect. Could I call this before? I don't care about body flow. I don't care about hand availability. I don't care about anything. Could I call this? Could I call this call and then have successfully a pass-through? Why do I not care about body flow? Why don't I care about hand availability? Because I do not know which formation I might look at in future times. When you go and see that we call star through, followed by a flutter wheel, is in most cases really bad flow for both for ladies and for the boys. It really doesn't flow well. But if you call a star through and then you have lines and call for the centers a flutter wheel, the picture changes. So when I disregard the combination star through flutter wheel, I miss out on possible other combinations. So this is one reason I don't really care about body flow at this point in time. And when we look, now it's your part, your time to participate. What do you think? What can I call before I pass through here? There aren't many answers.
Forward and back.
Forward and back. I can call before. Okay.
Do-si-do.
Just a moment. Do-si-do.
Circle 4.
Circle 4. To the left or to the right?
I don't care. You said you didn't worry about which direction.
Yeah. Okay.
Circle 2?
No, the thing is, I have both here. If you say circle 4, I have a circle left and a circle right here. That's why I ask. Okay, I'm marking both.
Thank you.
You can also mark the 2 on that.
Okay.
You can use a lead right or lead left.
Don't have that yet.
Just use the calls that are in black.
Yeah.
What can you use on a do-si-do or prior to a do-si-do?
No, prior to a pass-through.
Sorry, prior to a pass-through.
Faster Fruken.
Okay.
Certainly promenade.
Yep.
Yeah.
I say swing.
Okay.
Swing's a bit undefined where it finishes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Right and left grand will work also.
Right, left grand, yep.
Has Willier defined stars?
Yeah, it's a stars are a difficult thing. They're a strange animal.
They should end us in circles.
I'd believe they should end up in facing the person that you're holding hands with, the person you start the star with, and you finish facing the person you join hands with first. That's my take on stars.
This is what the advanced and challenge course imposed on the basic stars, because it didn't have an exact ending formation a couple of years ago.
Unless otherwise told.
For instance, if I had the head step in, face your corner, make a right-hand star, do they end up as facing couples? Or if I say men, star by the left, back to your partner, pass through, or back to your partner, do, si, do, pass through. Again, that's why the term directed stars is in there, but and there's hundreds of examples like that.
Yeah. We could put stars in there if you say they're possible. And no.
Certainly weave. There's no reason why you can't pass after a weave.
Wave? I don't have waves yet.
Weave the ring.
I don't have that yet.
Isn't it after right and left grand there?
No,
Yeah, but it's not black.
I think you
It's
might
not
have.
taught in black. It's not.
Those had highlighted in black are the only ones dancers know. So he's restricting to what his dancers know. What can he do before a pass through?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So the stuff that's in gray has not been taught yet.
And when it's not taught, your dancers can't dance it, so you can't use it.
I say certain forms of promenade, not necessarily a promenade home, but like kids promenade half, you could do a pass through then.
Right, I have that already marked in blue.
Not promenade. It shows black here.
Now he's got underneath a couple.
Here's number 5.
Oh, okay, I see it. Sorry.
The promenade in black here is just because couples full, half, three-quarter, and home doesn't have promenade in there. It says there's a single file promenade, a wrong way promenade, star promenade, but for A, they didn't put promenade in there, and I just forgot it when I made it. I could write promenade in there and then make the other one. So. Make that one gray. So, confusion solved. So now we have more or less all the calls that were taught, so we can call all these before it pass through. Now is the question, what can we call after a pass through?
I just asked, what is your abbreviation, capital F, capital D stand for?
Facing dancers.
Thank you.
Okay.
And OWR is ocean wave rule.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Because I said, I do this for me. And my forms, when I teach a class, I want to have keep track of what do I teach from an ocean wave and what do I teach from facing dancers or facing couples. my teaching order is much more detailed. Like also when you look at the promenade family, in the original list, there is no E. There is no don't stop, don't slow down. Or in the ladies chain family, I have in italic set an end ladies diagonally. That's not in the teaching order. But when I teach a class, I would like to know what is called in my area and what I need to teach my dancers so that they should be successful at the dance with another caller and not be humiliated, or I don't want to be humiliated because I didn't teach them important stuff in my area. But the questions are legitimate. So, okay, what can we call after pass through?
Promenade.
Promenade.
Swing.
Swing, yes.
Swing.
Depends on where your pass through is starting from.
Yeah.
Promenade.
If you do a circle, head circle left 3/4 and pass through, there's a lot of things you can do there. You can do another circle 4. You
Yeah.
can do a right hand,
Perfect.
left hand star.
Yeah, but the topic is pass through. So I can call pass through swing. What else can I call? Pass through and
Forward and back.
pass through and forward and back.
I'm lacking the face in the series of calls.
Pardon? Once again, Google.
I'm lacking the face in the series of call, even though it's not a call anymore, but you should have taught them to face your partner or face your caller or something.
I have these are not in the list. This is I have a very thorough Excel spreadsheet where I teach in a basic and mainstream class over 200 lessons, where there is face in there, there is
face your partner is a nice call after pass through.
Yeah.
Right and left grand.
Right and left grand.
And you've also got your left and right hand stars.
Yeah.
And you've got your do si do. As I understand it, the point that we're getting at on this is when you look at such a limited skill set and you analyze them this way in choreography, for instance, who was it that said with circle halfway or circle 3/4? Once you've got that, it opens up, even with this limited set of calls, so much that you can do. You can have pass through, turn around, circle 3/4, pass through to a right and left grand, and so on and so forth like that. It just opens up so much material. And is that my understanding of the way you use this, Guido?
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. When the new caller looks at the list and says, I have these calls. This is a list of calls without a meaning. And once you take one call away, or say, once you say, I look at this call and put it in a context with the other calls, then you have a lot of possibilities suddenly open that you really don't see. When I started this procedure several years ago, I found that I could combine scoot back more than 100 times within the mainstream list, with before and after combinations. Square through is, you have over 100 combinations. And how many do you dance and call? if you're lucky, 20. But when we, after a pass through, we also could do the circles. And what nobody has said, before and after pass through, I could also call pass through.
That's true too.
Just because it's the theme, what can I call before and after? I still can use that call also. So when we look at that list, all the calls that we had in the open house are now used in conjunction with pass-through. And I quit sharing that screen and I ask you to pin the screen of Edeltraud's PC. Then I show you another tool that goes well with this one, what I just did here.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know how to pin, if you look at the screen that has the 4 magic markers on it, just hit the three dots on the right-hand side at the top. It'll pull up a menu, and then about the 4th or the 5th one down, it says pin. That will make it big in the center of your screen, and that'll be what you'll be looking at.
I can't see that. Where are we?
Okay, so on the screen, you'll see Edeltraud House. Or Guido, can you just pick the markers up and slowly move them back and forth so they can all identify what screen they're looking for?
Just a moment. I'm trying to end the
Here.
to end this screen share. Okay, no, I had to close the program.
Okay, so just move the markers on. There you go. Okay, so there's on that little window, there's three dots on the top right-hand corner.
The view window, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
mine doesn't give me a pin. It just says speaker view, gallery view.
Okay, go to gallery.
Just right click on the markers and you'll get a choice.
Right click on where Guido's hand is holding the markers on the actual little box that he's in.
Just right click on that and you'll get a choice to pin.
I must be doing the wrong thing then.
Yeah, don't go up to the very top right of the screen, just on that little box where his hand is in.
You're talking about Guido's window?
Correct.
See where Guido's hand is moving the marker?
I was doing it on the main window, sorry.
Yeah. See where Guido's hand is moving the markers?
You mean on Guido's window?
No, on Edeltraud's window.
Edeltraud's window with the markers, the one that's moving.
Do you see where the markers are moving, Alan?
I've accidentally pinned Guido. How do I get out of that?
Just right click it and unpin.
I did.
Remove pin, yeah.
Or right click and replace pin if you're at Edeltraud's window.
So which window am I trying to pin now?
The one with the magic markers on it.
Edeltraud.
Well, I've just been kicked out, I think. I'm sorry.
No, you're
You're
still
not
there.
kicked out. You're still there. You might have it on a different set of windows, though. Are you on the second or the first?
But being on the second page.
Yeah,
you might
right
be on a
now.
different page.
Yeah, I'm on a different page. Yeah, right. I'm back in.
Do you see the 4 markers? The colored markers.
I'm seeing a window with you talking. That's all I'm looking at.
Okay.
Oh,
Go to gallery.
And yeah,
Go to gallery view.
Yeah. Come off speaker view, go to gallery view.
Okay.
Yep.
Now you'll see a little window there, like everybody's in their own little box. There's one that's got 4 markers on it. Do you see that one? Green, yellow, red, blue.
You have to go to the second page.
Oh, green. No, I'm not winning.
Ellen, let's do it easier. Open on the bottom of your screen, you see the participants. And if you click on that, it opens on the right side a list of the participants of the meeting.
Yes, got that.
Look for Edeltraud.
Yes.
And I guess when you right click, you can on the name, you can also pin the video.
Just in case there's any confusion, because when you first said it, I didn't know what you meant. You're not looking for an icon of some kind on the Zoom. You're looking for an actual picture, a video of some magic markers sitting on the desk.
That's why I was having him move them around.
Yeah.
But if you're not looking at where the screen is moving around, you can't see anything other than
Yeah, no.
people. So
Yeah, he's moving them now.
Okay. Have you found that one?
I'm sorry, you might have to proceed without me. I'm not getting at it at all.
Alan, have you got it in gallery view?
I've got it in gallery view, and I've tried what he said and gone to Edeltraud Haas, EH, is it?
Yeah.
Yep. I've right-clicked on that, but it's doing nothing.
Right click and choose pin.
It's not giving me anything when I right-click. That's the problem.
When you move your pointer over the person's photograph, it actually just should give you automatically the little blue box with the 3 dots at the top right-hand side.
Yeah, I did that with Guido, but where's the other one I've got a pin to?
Yeah, don't do it on Guido.
Yeah. If everybody would stop talking while he's finding it, because every time you speak, it changes the speaker views and it messes around. So Guido, just move the magic markers slowly back and forth. Alan, scroll through your screens, see if you can find that magic markers moving back and forth.
Oh, now I've got it, yes.
Okay, put your mouse over that little screen with the moving magic markers.
All done, thank you.
Right click and go pin to whatever screen, if you're using 2 screens, or just pin.
I've done the pin, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, Guido, go ahead.
Now everybody should have this one in large.
Yeah, just remember, Guido, you're upside down for everybody. So
yeah, and for me, I'm also upside down.
Okay.
And now I need to pin it myself first, so I can see what I'm doing on the screen, because the other one is just a small one. Where do I have my markers?
You can go into the settings in Zoom and change it to 180 degrees.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny. I don't find Edeltraud myself here.
What are you trying to do? Flip your screen?
No, I'm trying to find my second screen. Ah, here it is.
Okay, let's try and do it this way. Guido, let's try and do it this way. Just a second.
I have it. So, Mel, I have it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stop sharing.
Good. Now, what I have here, I need to turn it upside down. I have my own set of dominoes, like these. And we were talking about pass-through. Where do I have pass-through here? Here. Let's say I have pass-through and then I have the call right and left grand. Now I need to go and find what I can call after a right and left grand. I have a right and left grand here. I have a right and left grand in a pass-through. I have a right and left grand in a promenade home. I have a right and left grand in a do-side-do, for instance. So I could go and say, after I swing,
Promenade.
I could call it promenade home. Or after I swing, I could call a circle right or a circle left. When we go on with this game, we will start with circle left, 8 dancers. Let me move this aside. We can circle right, as I have here. We have a right-hand star with 8 dancers. Right-hand star, 8 dancers. We can have a left-hand star with 8 dancers. That follows. I don't have any combinations here, I guess. Circle left, 8 dancers, circle right, 8 dancers, circle right, 8 dancers. Go forward and back. After forward and back, we can go forward and well. After forward and back, we can do another circle. We can have the forward and back, just that the boys do it, and then circle, and the boys circle right. And this way, when you have your combinations, like we did just before, you can, you just play domino, and then you have a sequence of calls that you could call that work.
See ya.
And boys circle right. Find your boys circle right. Circle right, 8 dancers. Circle right.
Swing a promenade.
Yeah. I'm just getting lost here with too many circle right 4 dancers, make a left-hand star. This is something where you can play with, and suddenly you have a string of choreography that you could call. The only thing you must be aware of is these don't show any indication of turning direction or hand availability. What I do, and there come my magic markers again, I say a circle right is a movement that goes counterclockwise. I mark it, and then I know that the dancers are going this. And when the next call also shows, and the next call also shows a circle like this, you should be aware that there is a possibility for overflow, for lots of overflow. So when I was a young caller, some 25 years ago, I did exactly that, but I didn't have the just paper that's hard to handle. I had cardboard and a lot of dominoes to make choreography. With the limited calls, I did something that I do not advise anybody to do, but there was no other choice. I wanted to call, and I founded another club, a new club, and I had to teach the club, and I only was ahead about 1 or 2 lessons before them, so I could teach them. The drawback was the next club was 90 kilometers away, and the second next club was 125 kilometers away. So there was no other chance. I couldn't get a caller to go there and teach for me. I had to do it myself. I don't advise anybody to do that, but something like this was my tool of choice to develop choreography, because it takes away the attention of too many calls. If you only have a set of a handful of calls. And what we did today with pass-through and the calls of the open house, these are all the calls. And for somewhere I have them here, just for Google.
He's picking on you, Goog.
No, it's just because he said it's a call. He said it's here. So, but I think I'm over the hour, and I think I have brought across what I wanted to say.
Actually, Guido, you're 10 minutes before the hour, so you're actually on time, well on time, in time for questions. I've got a couple of questions from the floor, but what I'd like to just point out is that system that Guido's talking about, the domino system, a lot of callers have had variations of that. I know on the do-si-do and some of the how to write singing calls, there's simple variations like that that go as well. And on your call sheet analysis, they say, what can I call before? What can I call afterwards to build these strings of choices? I wish that I had a very simple system like this that had the calls set up like dominoes, because you can see once you start looking at what your strings are and then doing your call analysis for your right and left hand choreography, your body flow, it can be a very, very useful system, especially for new callers, to actually look and build choreographic strings. I do have a couple of questions for you, Guido. The first one, okay, you said choreographic phrases, information. On your call analysis sheet, you keep what's relevant to you and what you're doing, and you throw away the rest or fill it out, but you only use it when you need it. Is that correct?
I fill out what I have in information, and I ignore the rest. As I do have call analysis sheets started for an all 8 switch to a diamond. It's an A2 call.
Mm-hmm.
And I was asked the question, from which formation can I call an all 8 switch to a diamond twice? So I have that. I have nothing else in there. The definition, because I copied it from the A2 definitions, and the starting formation for an all 8 switch to a diamond twice. Nothing else is in there. And I probably will never use it.
That's also a good reason for doing call analysis sheet, because you can rule out the things that just don't work. There was a couple of, well, actually a number of questions that came up, but I think it was more clarification. You talked about the facing couple rules, the ocean wave rules, and the restrictions when developing your choreography. And I thought I would just clarify that, because you mentioned courtesy turn, yeah, but other things have it. In your basic and mainstream program, in the definitions, there are often restrictions listed. The restrictions that they list say only used at basic and mainstream, or only used at plus, or at plus only, this kind of thing that will go on there. Courtesy turn is one of those, which means that chain down the line, right and left through, a chain, or anything with a courtesy turn is restricted at basic and mainstream to a boy on the left, girl on the right. Anything else is a gimmick. Those of you that dance plus or advanced or anything that say right and left through and who turns who, that's a gimmick at basic and mainstream. It's not a proper call, but it's a very well used call. As long as you clarify it and the dancers understand it, you're fine. But go through your definition lists at what levels you call, and they will tell you what the restrictions are. Pretty fair summation, Guido?
No, it's okay. That's I don't have anything to add.
And the last one was, you said you do 200 classes for basic and mainstream.
No, lessons.
200 lessons.
And a lesson is, I teach pass-through. A lesson is face your partner. A lesson is a right pull-by or a left pull-by.
Okay, so that you might have 5 lessons in a night or 3 lessons in a night.
I might have 25 lessons in a night. I teach 3 calls and have 20 lessons, because I say face your partner what it is.
Yeah, that was the question. What was your basic and mainstream is 200 classes? No, a lesson is the block that you teach or play with that movement.
Yep.
You could do a dozen of those in a night.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That was all the questions that came up. So the floor is open. Does anybody have any questions for Guido? Well, either that was very confusing or very clear, Guido. I'm not sure which.
I can have one. Just looking at the basic program, around 50 calls, and I was once, well, I actually asked the question for beginner callers: how many calls can you actually call from, say, a partner line, just using the basic 50s? How many are there? And how many domino notes do you need to use?
I don't know, but what I do with calls, I do also with formations. I'll take the list and put somewhere on the list and in the title, I say facing lines. And then I see which calls get me into facing lines, which calls get me out of facing lines, and which calls maintain facing lines.
The reason I ask is that I think there will be quite a huge amount of stickers when you're. I think there are 10 calls that you can't use from a partner line on the basic program. You can use dive through. You can use a lot of things, but it's slightly overwhelming in some cases.
These things here, they are a tool, and if you don't need that tool because some things are obvious, you don't use it. But put it this way: when you play dominoes like this, you have a certain goal in mind, and what you can use is empty dominoes and just make those that you need on the fly to have that string with some other dominoes that you already have prepared to use. But it's true, when you look into a definition, most definitions have a lot of calls that you can get into, get out from, and a few calls that maintain the formation. But this is something that I do also, but usually I do it on paper. I take a list and use my highlighters, because then I can do anywhere in the world. I don't have to. The only thing I need is probably a place to sit or something to put my my paper on so I can mark them. But thinking doesn't need electricity. So I don't care if I have a mobile net available. I can think all by myself. I don't need anything to it.
John, you have a question. John Jurgens.
Yeah, Guido, I was just wondering if you considered on your dominoes, if you put the hand that you finished with on the maneuver. So let's say you finished the maneuver with the right hand and the starting domino that would go on the next one. So let's say you had the first domino on the domino that starts the maneuver would put your hand down and then the hand on the other one. So then you could lay, so if one ended on the left, if you had the next one started with a right, you could lay it right on top and you know they would flow through with handedness. I mean, that's a thought. Have you ever thought about that?
I've thought about it. I've refrained from that for today. You can put a lot of information on these things, especially if you make them a little larger than what I just did here. When you, but just be careful not to overload them. But
yeah, well,
I've had handedness in there. I've had at a point in time, I did not only have the handedness and the turning direction in there, I also had in there how long they were. That means like a pass-through was a much shorter carton, a much shorter piece of paper than a right and left grand. So I could time out singing calls just by laying it on the table and see exactly how many beats I used.
You'll say to lay a piece of paper out by beat. So a two beat would be that short and a grand square would be that long. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Well, this is all stuff that I did when I started the call. I needed to.
Yeah.
Well, I needed to grasp the theory. I needed to make it visual for me.
That would do it.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that. One of the reasons when Guido started talking about his call analysis sheet and I looked at it, it is very different from a lot of the way other callers have been taught to approach call analysis. The actual sheet and the analysis of the individual calls is much the same, but the approach and what he does to it is very different. And one of the reasons I was excited about this presentation was primarily because I have been saying many times for many years, the best system for calling, the best method for site resolution, the best method for developing modules or learning choreography is the one that works for you. And if this one worked for Guido, it works for Guido. It may work for you, it may not work for you, or it may inspire you to develop something from this that will work for you. And especially as a new caller, if you know what the tools are that are out there, you'll pick the ones that work best for you. And there are a lot of callers that are out in this area. Alan Kerr, Guido, Goog. Is it Goog or Guga?
Guga.
Guga. Okay. You know, they're all there and they're all available to help you. And everybody looks at things just a little bit different. John, you made an excellent point the other day. We were talking about patter and it brought something into, or in the last session, it brought something that was brought up 2 sessions earlier in one of Dawn's. It didn't make sense until it was said in a different way, in a completely different context. And this is why we're trying to expose you to as many of these things that are possible and then explore what we want to explore on them. Guido, I want to say thank you very much for coming in. I have posted the call analysis revisited and the PowerPoint presentation in the chat. I've also, Mark, I've sent you an email and I do apologize. I forgot to acknowledge Mark at the beginning of the session. Mark is our IT guru extraordinaire who makes sure that all of these sessions get posted on the OC Callers website for download. All the information is free. All the resources are free, and Mark is hosting that. And they will also be posted up there. So
They're already there.
Let's reopen this to chat. And if anybody has any questions for Guido, by